Hey everybody, we're still here in the hotel room at PAX East 2016, quite obviously, but I wanted to post an updated video addressing the question of should I wait to buy my GPU or build my rig for Polaris or Pascal. We'll do another one of these on Broadwell E and some of the new Intel CPUs as well, AMD CPUs, but for now we're just talking about Pascal and Polaris. And before getting to that, this PAX East coverage is brought to you by CyberPower, who make the fanbook that conveniently we recently overclocked past 1200 megahertz, I think, on the GPU. But let's talk about Pascal and Polaris. So the question here previously, should I wait or should I buy now? In the video a few months ago, I said just buy. Whatever you need for your rig, just buy it. It's several months out. We have no confirmed dates. There's no real rumors when these things are going to ship definitively. So my advice was, unless you really just don't need to build a machine at that point, the advice was to buy. Things have changed because these devices have gotten a lot closer. We can reasonably expect at least an announcement from both vendors sometime around Computex. That tends to be their history. And Computex this year is May 31st to June something, 4th or 5th, something like that. So there should be an announcement around that time frame. It would be earlier in the show. And if not then, we can expect one definitely in the summer sometime. So that known, that puts us anywhere from about a month, max maybe 2 months before at least some kind of announcement from one of the vendors, if not both, and the vendors being AMD and NVIDIA. 1 to 2 months isn't that long to wait if you don't need a machine today, this instant, but there's a few things to look at here. So there's gaming users who are just either doing mainstream gaming, don't care about super high graphics. There's enthusiast gamers, and then of course there's the production audience, and we address all of those on the site because that's what we do. We do production, we do gaming. With the production side of things, the thing to look at, of course, is if you wait, are you hindering your timeline to produce whatever the content is that you're making? If waiting is putting you behind on rendering, or if you need a machine to make money, then obviously my advice would be buy the thing you need, or at least a step between, because you've got to make money. And if you need a GPU to do it for CUDA acceleration or OpenCL acceleration from either vendor, then you should just buy now. Don't wait because you sacrifice your income. If you're a gamer, or if you're maybe a hobbyist producer, like for YouTube, and you don't necessarily live off of it, then the advice changes a bit. So I would say generally, similar to the previous advice, if you don't need a machine this instant today, if you can still get your gaming done, if you're not gonna be hit with work or vacation or whatever in the summer that will make it impossible for you to game and you wanna do it now, it might be worth buying a card, but do note that within the next few months there will be announcements from the vendors officially, finally posting some kind of Polaris or Pascal information for both. And the Pascal Tesla P100 was announced at GTC, not DC. So it's obviously all underway. Pascal has officially entered production. Polaris, they've done several demos at the shows now. We've seen the TDP demos, and we know that it exists and is functional. And that is probably being made en masse now, if not very shortly. So here's one thing you could do if you are okay with ignoring the question of waiting for Intel or AMD. Zen is so far away, I wouldn't wait for it. We'll talk about that more later. Broadwell E, a different story. And then the things after Skylake, I probably wouldn't wait for those either. So that said, one option would be to build your rig sort of for the most part today. Maybe get a lower end GPU, use one of your old ones, cannibalize it from an existing system, and then just run like that for a month or 2 or maybe 3 until things are good to go. One thing to note here is that a lot of people seem to expect prices will immediately drop when these new architectures ship. Historically, that's not really been the case. In fact, as GPUs exit production, prices tend to go up. So you might see a little dip as the new SKUs for the same architecture come out. Like when the 980 Ti came out, the 980 dropped, or when the Fury X came out, the other cards, 390X, dropped a bit. But that's different from a new architecture coming out entirely. Generally, we see prices go up for existing cards, and I think that's probably because they're trying to clear stock, of course, but the users of existing cards who wanted to SLI or Crossfire are now freaking out trying to buy their cards. And some of them may not understand that you could just buy a new one and be better off with a new single GPU on a new architecture. So I think that's why that happens, but that's off topic. So I would not expect price drops on GPUs, and you can generally expect the new architectures to be priced about the same structure as the current generation. It's been true for the past several generations. High-end tends to be $600, $700, somewhere in there. and then the low end tends to be 150-ish for the first card launched, like the 750 Ti, the R9 270X, and similar previous gen cards. There's another reason, though, that you should be a bit in between on waiting, or at least aware of what happens. So just because a new architecture is launched doesn't mean you get your card that day or that week. And that's two reasons. One is stock, they run out. And two is that not all SKUs are announced at once. It could be the low end comes out first, could be the high end that comes out first. And there's definitely, it's almost never the mid-range. I cannot remember a time when a mid-range card came out first. It's either cheap or expensive. If you're gonna be in one of those categories, I guess it's worth waiting. If you for sure are in the mid-range, you might be waiting a bit longer. It could be several months. And I would just consider building the rig, put something in there that you're okay with for now, and could maybe repurpose or rip it out of an old machine and use it, and then buy the new ones if you really feel it's necessary when those come out, or if you're doing anything specifically that you know of with the new APIs or VR, it's worth waiting to see how those new cards react to that technology, because that's been in development with these new cards. So they will be built from the ground up, well, maybe not the ground up, but from the mid up at the least, to support the new tech. So just some very quick and informal thoughts. This is not supposed to be a super technical video. I'm in Boston in a hotel room, and I just thought I'd address it because we've been asked on the show floor a couple times by fans who approached whatever in comments on the videos. So I wanted to throw that out there. But thank you for watching. If you have thoughts on this topic, just post them below and get some discussion going. My very briefly recapped thoughts are, if you're in production, you need it for money, it being the GPU, buy your thing and make your money. If you're gaming and you do this for fun and you don't need a machine today because you have one today that kind of works pretty well, then just wait. And if you're a gamer who doesn't yet have their machine, if you're trying to build it soon but you don't have something that you're playing right now, then it becomes a question of how patient are you? What's your time look like in the summer? In that case, you have to decide what you're doing there. But that's kind of the brief thoughts. Thank you for watching. Comments below, all that stuff, Patreon, post-roll video. I'll see you all next time.